The British Rail Class 373 or TGV TMST train is an electric multiple unit that operates Eurostar's intercity high-speed rail service between England, France and Belgium via the Channel Tunnel. Part of the TGV family, it has a smaller cross-section to fit the smaller loading gauge in England. It was originally able to operate on the UK Third Rail network, and it has extensive fireproofing in case of fire in the tunnel. It is both the longest, 387 metres, and fastest train in regular UK passenger service, operating at speeds of up to 300 km per hour. Known as the Trans-Manche Supertrain during development until start of service in 1993. The train is designated Class 373 under the British TOPS classification system and Series 373,000 TGV in France. It was built by the French company GEC Alstom at its sites in La Rochelle, Belfort and Washwood Heath and by Bourgeois Nivelles in Bruges. Since the delivery of new Class 374 E320 units from Siemens in 2014, refurbished examples of the Class 373 or TGV TMST sets have been officially dubbed E300 by Eurostar to distinguish them from the new Velero fleet. Development and construction. Two types were constructed. 31 sets consisting of 2 power cars and 18 carriages, including 2 with powered bogies. They are 387.18 meters long and have 750 seats, 206 in first class, 544 in standard class. The length of a complete set is dictated by safety regulations in the Channel Tunnel, as the distance between consecutive cross passages is 375 meters. This ensures that were a Eurostar train to have to stop in the tunnel, it would always be next to a cross passage. 7 North of London trains with 14 carriages, including 2 carriages with powered bogies. They are 312.36 meters in length and have 558 seats, 114 in first class, 444 in standard class. These were designed to operate the proposed regional Eurostar services. The sets were ordered by the railway companies involved. 16 by Sncf, 4 by NMBS, SNCB, and 18 by British Rail, of which 7 were the North of London sets. Upon the privatisation of British Rail, the BR sets were bought by London and Continental Railways, which named its subsidiary Eurostar Limited, now managed by SNCF, LCR and SNCB. The first set was built at Belfort in 1992. Identified as PS1, it was formed of 2 power cars and 7 coaches, and was delivered for test running in January 1993. Its first powered runs were between Strasbourg and Mulhouse, and it was transferred to the UK for Third Rail DC tests in June 1993. Full-length pre-series train PS2 was completed in May 1993. An extra power car, numbered 3999, was built as a spare. This was required for a couple of years, when 3999 was renumbered and replaced another power car whilst it underwent rebuilding at Lalandi. It is usually held at Temple Mills Depot in London. Third Rail test train to test the third rail shoes needed on the Southern Region lines in Great Britain. An 8-vehicle locomotive haul train was used in early 1994, consisting of a Class 73 locomotive, a converted Class 33 locomotive acting as a driving brake van, and 6 carriages from Class 438 multiple units 8007. 8023 and 8028 Midlife update. The 27 sets still operating on Eurostar were refurbished in 2004-05 with a new interior, designed by Philippe Starck. The grey-yellow look in standard class and the grey-red look in first class have been replaced with a more grey-brown look in standard, and a grey burnt orange in first class. In 2008, Eurostar announced that it was beginning the process to institute a midlife update, which will not include units used exclusively in France by Sncf. As a part of the update process, the Italian company Pininfarina has been contracted to redesign the interiors. The first refurbished Eurostar was not originally due in service until 2012. The refurbishment could also include an engine maintenance and a new livery. Eurostar later planned for the process to be complete by 2014, allowing the fleet to remain in service beyond 2020. But following additional delays, the first refurbished train was not completed until July 2015. Maintenance is carried out at depots close to the three capital cities, with the opening of High Speed 1 on 14 November 2007. The depot for London was changed from North Pole International Depot adjacent to the Great Western Main Line in West London, to Temple Mills Depot near Stratford International in East London. In France, the trains are maintained at Lalande Depot in northern Paris, and in Belgium at Brussels Forest Vorst Depot. Current operators: Eurostar. The bulk of operations are on Eurostar's core routes from London St Pancras to Paris Gare du Nord and Brussels South. A daily return service operates between London and Disneyland Paris. In summer, sets equipped for operation on French lines classics operate to Avignon Centre. In winter, on ski train services to Bourg Saint-Maurice. The trains can operate at up to 300 km per hour on high-speed lines and 160 km per hour in the Channel Tunnel. There is an automatic application of the brakes if the speed exceeds 315 km per hour, or 170 km per hour when the pantograph is in the tunnel setting. Speeds within the Channel Tunnel are dictated by air resistance, energy dissipation and the need to fit in with other train services operating at lower speeds. In October 2010, Eurostar ordered 10 Class 374 Eurostar E320 train sets from Siemens to operate new routes and on existing routes alongside the 373 fleet. Former operators GNER 5 of the North of London sets were leased to GNER in 2000 to operate services from London King's Cross to York and later Leeds under the White Rose brand. 2 operated in de-branded Eurostar livery, while 3 sets were covered in GNER deep navy vinyl wraps. On rare occasions, sets were formed of a GNER and an in-branded Eurostar half set. The lease concluded in December 2005 and they were returned to Eurostar. Due to limitations in the power supply on the Hertford Loop line, only 1 set was permitted to operate there at a time. They were restricted to run between King's Cross, York and Leeds because of gauging on the bridges approaching Newcastle. They were not permitted to operate to Bradford Forster Square because the electrical infrastructure past Leeds was insufficient. Manually locked selective door opening was used at shorter platforms. At the following locations on the ECML they are restricted to 110 miles per hour, shown with use of blue TGV signs next to the tracks, or required to only use a single pantograph. The down-fast line between 59 meters 10 chains and 59 meters 30 chains, between Grantham and Shaft Home JN and between Colton JN and York SNCF. 3 of the 3 capitals sets owned by SNCF were in French domestic use on the TGV network, mainly between Paris and Lille in a variation on the standard silver and blue TGV livery. The sets were built to the same specification as the rest of the fleet, which saw them initially used on international services as well as French domestic routes. Later, the third rail pickup shoes and yellow front warning panels were removed. In 2007, SNCF enhanced the fleet by leasing 6.5 of the 7 redundant North of London sets, with 1/2 set remaining with Eurostar. The North of London sets were intended to provide regional Eurostar services from continental Europe to and from north of London. using the West Coast and East Coast main lines. These never came to fruition because of long proposed journey times and the proliferation of budget airlines offering lower fares. There were also issues with the relatively crude design of British Rail overhead lines and the logistics of getting the trains across London. Sncf's lease of the sets was scheduled to last until 2011, with an option for a further 2 years. In October 2014, the 3 Capitals sets were removed from service and stored, having been replaced on the Paris-Lille service by TGV duplex units. They were to be sent for scrap, owing to them not having been refurbished since they entered service. The remaining north of London sets were due to be withdrawn by December 2014 and returned to Eurostar. Fleet details. Each power car has a 4-digit number starting with 3. This designates the train as a marked Chapter 3 TGV. The second digit denotes the country of ownership. 30XX UK. 31XX Belgium, 32XX France, 33XX Regional Eurostar. Each half set is numbered separately. Including power car. AB Avignon and Alps ski train services are worked by Sncf pod voltage sets. Each set is formed of 2 power cars and 18 coaches. North of London sets are formed of 2 power cars and 14 coaches. Technical details. All train sets were built as tri-voltage, able to operate on 25 kV 50 Hz AC and 3 kV DC using pantographs, and 750 VDC using third rail pickup shoes. The shoes were retracted when operating from overhead power and prototypes were used for testing. After the opening of High Speed 1, overhead electrification is used throughout and the third rail shoes were removed. 5 of the Sncf-owned sets are quadrivoltage, able to operate from 1500 VDC in the south of France, used on London Avignon and ski services. British-designed asynchronous traction motors are used. There are 4 powered axles in each power car and 2 powered axles in the outer bogie of the adjacent passenger carriage sets, giving 12 powered axles. Each set draws up to 16 megawatts with 12 megawatts of traction power, but the lowest power-to-weight ratio in the TGV family. The class uses 5 different standards of overhead. Domestic catenary in each of Belgium, France and the United Kingdom, fixed-height catenary on LGV lines, and taller catenary in the Channel Tunnel, designed to accommodate double-deck car-carrying trains and roll-on roll-off heavy goods vehicle trains. The driver must lower and then raise the pantograph during the transition between catenary systems. Signaling systems. The class have multiple signaling systems, leading to a cluttered control desk. These include automatic warning system, the British signalling system, used in the Ashford area, train protection and warning system, the warning system that supplements AWS, used in the Ashford area, transmission voie machine, used on lines à grande vitesse, on Eurotunnel tracks, and on High Speed 1. Control de vitesse bar balisers, used between Paris Gare du Nord and the LGV Nord. On French lines Classics and the HS1 connected throat around St. Pancras. It is electromechanical with fixed radio beacons. TBL, the Belgian signalling system, used between Brussels South and HSL1. At high speed, the driver cannot see line-side signals reliably, with the TVM signaling used on the high-speed lines. The target speed for the end of the current block is displayed with a flashing indication for the next block if it is a different speed. Auxiliary signaling information, including the location of neutral sections in the overhead supply and pantograph adjustment zones, is displayed in cabin by the line side. The operation of circuit breakers over neutral sections is handled automatically on TVM signaled lines only, and pantograph adjustments must always be performed by the driver. Bogies and Couplings. The class was designed to meet Channel Tunnel safety regulations, and consists of 2 independent half sets. each with its own power car. Most of the trailers rest on Jacob's bogies shared between adjacent carriages, supporting both of them, with the cars next to the power cars and the two central cars not articulated. Non-shared bogies are coupled with Scharfenberg couplers, providing 3 points for separation in the event of an emergency in the Channel Tunnel. The electrical supply cables between a power car and the first carriage are designed to break apart during an emergency separation. In the event of a serious fire in the tunnel, the passengers would be transferred into the undamaged half of the train, which would then be uncoupled from the damaged half and driven out of the tunnel. If the undamaged part is the rear half of the train, this would be driven by the chef du train, who is a fully authorized driver and occupies the rear driving cab in the tunnel for this purpose. Due to limitations on driving hours, the driver and chef du train exchange roles for the return journey. The articulated design is advantageous during a derailment, as the carriages will tend to stay aligned. On non-articulated trains, couplings may break and the carriages may jackknife. A disadvantage of articulation is that it is difficult to remove individual carriages for maintenance. While the power cars can be uncoupled, specialized depot equipment is needed to split carriages by lifting the entire train at once. Once uncoupled, one of the carriage ends is left without a bogie at the split, so a bogie frame is required to support it. Braking systems. The class has 3 braking systems. The 12 motors can provide rear-static braking. All non-powered axles have 4 disc brakes. All powered axles have class brakes operating on the wheel tread. A train traveling at 300 km per hour can be brought to stand in 65 seconds, during which time it covers about 2.7 km. Miscellaneous. To combat the hypnotic effect of driving through a tunnel at speed for 20 minutes. The power cars have a very small windscreen when compared to other high-speed trains and TGVs. Significant events. Accidents and incidents. On 5 June 2000, a set from Paris to London derailed on the LGV Nord near Arras in France at 290 km per hour. 14 people were treated for light injuries or shock, with no major injuries or fatalities. The articulated nature was credited with maintaining stability during the incident, and the train stayed upright. After investigation, the incident was blamed on a component of the transmission between the motors and axles coming loose. To reduce the unsprung mass, TGV trains have the motors attached to the train rather than the bogies. In order for the train to be able to go around curves, a sliding tripod assembly is used, which became dislodged. There have been several minor incidents. In October 1994, there were teething problems relating to the start of operations. The first preview train, carrying 400 members of the press and media, was delayed for 2 hours owing to technical issues. On 29 May 2002, a set was sent towards Victoria instead of London Waterloo, causing it to arrive 25 minutes late. The signalling error that led to the incorrect routing was stated to have caused no risk as a result. During the night of 18-19 December 2009, there was heavy snow causing widespread disruption to roads, railways and airports across northern Europe. 5 trains failed in the Channel Tunnel because snow in the engine compartment was melting due to the warmer temperatures in the tunnel. The resulting water caused electrical and control system faults. Eurostar commissioned an independent report to evaluate what went wrong and how future events could be prevented or better managed. The report's recommendations included increased number of diesel rescue locomotives with exhaust filtration to be on standby at each end of the tunnel, major changes to the power cars to prevent snow ingress into electrical compartments, better staff training, improved communication internally and with other stakeholders, better information provision to passengers. The majority of the recommendations were implemented by 23 October 2012. Record runs on 30 July 2003, on the opening press run of the Channel Tunnel Rail Link Section 1. set 3,313/14 set a new British rail speed record of 334.7 km per hour, breaking the previous record of 259.5 km per hour set by an advanced passenger train on 20 December 1979. On 16 May 2006, set 3,209/10 created a record for the longest non-stop high-speed journey when it made the 1,421-kilometer journey from London to Cannes in 7 hours 25 minutes. This was a result of Eurostar's partnership with the Da Vinci Code film. The train carried actors Tom Hanks and Audrey Tautou and director Ron Howard, who had jointly named the train the Da Vinci Code prior to departing for the film premiere at the Cannes Film Festival. On 4 September 2007, the first revenue train to use high-speed 1 to St. Pancras set a new speed record. It left Paris at 9:44 BST and arrived at St. Pancras 2 hours 3 minutes and 39 seconds later. Officials aboard recorded speeds of up to 325 km per hour in France and 314 km per hour in Britain. Exhibitions on several occasions. Sets appeared at special events and displays, such as at Lille Flandres in 1995, Rotterdam Centraal Station on 6 April 1996, Berlin Grunewald Station for Eurospeed 1998. Madrid Chamartin Railway Station for Eurospeed 2002, and at the York National Railway Museum for the Railfest 200 celebrations in 2004. To celebrate 10 years of Eurostar service, a barge was floated down the River Thames in London on 16 November 2004, with a power car on board. Specially painted by Ben Langlands and Nikki Bell, named Language of Places on Eurostar by Langlands and Bell. It consisted of the 3-letter destination codes for all the places Eurostar goes to or connects to. The barge went under Tower Bridge, past the Houses of Parliament and moored beside the museum warship HMS Belfast. At the beginning of August 2015, north of London, power car 373,308 was added to the National Collection and transported to the National Railway Museum in York.